G'day and welcome back. And welcome back to part 4 of this Aristocrat radio restoration. Last time I reconed the speaker and I'm very happy with that. It's working very well.
They're 12 metres inside Warriors territory.
So a bit of footy on there. This week I'm going to try and make a new dial, and once the dial's made I'll be able to align the radio. Before we start, this rectifier valve which is fitted there, which I really like the look of, I realise it's not a 5x3. I sort of kept saying a 5x3, but I knew it wasn't. It's got way too big a plate on it, and here's the 5x3, and it's probably a third bigger plate than what's in a 5x3. I was talking to my friend at the radio club today, and he said, look, you're going to overload the transformer if you keep running that. So I have changed it, and I've put an old 5x3 in there. Hopefully I can find a bottle shaped 5x3 and at least maintain some of the look. But anyway, if that's all I've got, I'll have to stick to that. So I'll start with the dial first, and I've actually pretty much got it made. But what I did was just put a bit of paper here. I taped that on, and I used my generator to get the numbers, and then I marked them off with the pencil. So just put 600 in and put a line, change the 700, put a line. I then scanned it into my PC and used the Caesar software that the vinyl cutter uses, and I was able to use that as a backdrop and then just make the marks to suit what was on the drawing. And this is one of the first samples that I did, and I made sure that it all lined up, all the numbers were right. I actually missed a couple of numbers here, missed a line there, and there's no T in Aristocrat, but this was just to get the sizing right. Once I was happy with the layout, I was able to start populating it with all the little station call signs. And to get the frequencies for the call signs, or the stations, I used a photo from a 1935 radio I have here and simply lined up the station and then read off the frequency. So I wrote all those frequencies down on a piece of paper. These are all the New South Wales, that's Queensland, and these are Victoria. So I just did the East Coast. I think there's 1 or 2 Tasmanian stations on there as well. To get the stations and the frequencies to line up in the software, I drew a temporary line there, and I could just rotate that around, get it to line up with the frequency, and then put the various stations in line with it. So it took a little while, but it wasn't too bad. It took maybe a couple of hours, I suppose. Once I was happy with that, I just sent it to the vinyl cutter and it cut out the pattern for me. And here it is here, and that is ready to iron onto a piece of glass now, and it sticks to the glass. You can put it in a dishwasher, it won't come off. So I'm ready to do that, but I need to go and cut a bit of glass the right size. I'm at my workshop. I have a piece of glass here. It's about 3mm thick. It's about 1/8 of an inch. And I need to mark it into 5-inch square, or I need a 5-inch square. 5 inches is about 127mm. So I'll put a mark there. I'm marking it at 130. I've added about 3mm for the glass cutter. The distance between that little wheel and here is about 4mm, but I've taken 1mm off to allow a bit of clearance when it's in the radio. I watched a video the other day with a guy doing glass cutting, and he used a bit of WD-40 as the lubricant. So I'm going to use that today. All right, I'm lined up. I'm not all that good at glass cutting. There's the score line there. You're supposed to tap it on the bottom there, just to try and induce a fracture there. All right, I'll see if it'll break. There it is. And the rest of it, of course, is rinse and repeat. I'll cut the other side. A little squirt of WD-40. Score. Tap. And break. I'll smooth up the edges with a bit of sandpaper. That last cut I didn't cut straight, so I straightened that up with a bit of sandpaper. I actually put it on the sanding disc, so that's okay now. That looks pretty good. I'll measure it, just make sure we've got 127. And yeah, that's pretty good. One side's a little bit longer than the other, but still 127, so that'll be fine. I should have mentioned I was wearing safety glasses when I was doing all that. I should have safety gloves as well. To drill the hole, I've got a packet of these diamond tip hole cutters. I'll put a piece of tape about the centre here. I'll draw a square in the centre. and that's where the hole will go. So I'll colour that like that. I'll cut that bit of tape out. And I'll make a water dam around it. I don't really think you need to, just the water sort of pools around the cutter, but I'll do it anyway. I've taped the glass on the base of the drill press there, and I've centered it in the hole. So I'll fill it up with water. There we go. And turn it on. We should have a hole through there, I think. There it is. Let's see how we went. This is just a plasticine type stuff. There we go. That's not bad at all. There might be a little bit of chipping on the back. Oh, there's not much. Looks nice. It's a good hole. Okay. I'll clean that up, take it inside, and we can iron on the vinyl sticker. I've cleaned the glass thoroughly and I've laid the transfer over it. It's backwards, it will come out the right way. The circle in there matches the circle in the glass, so that's aligned. The square around the edges kind of lines up with the square of the glass. So we should be in the right place. This gets ironed on, and I've got my wife's iron here. There's a bit of silicone paper there just to take some of the heat. I don't think I need that because I think the plastic they use there is, can withstand the heat. So I'll leave this here for about 30 seconds or so. And move it over and do it on the other bit. Right, that's been a minute or so on both sides. And it should be ironed on. I will just do it directly, just to make sure. Now in the past I've been moving the iron around. I don't think that's a good idea because it tends to squash the vinyl and make it smudgy. Alright, if that's not stuck now, it never will be. I've got to let that cool off, so I'll have to leave it for about 5 minutes and I should be able to peel that off. This is cold now and I've started peeling back, and hopefully it all stays there. That circle moved because there's no glass behind it. Oh, that looks good. I should be able to peel that off because I didn't put the heat on that. Now there are a couple of smudges, that 3, and there's an O up here somewhere. There it is. That's smudged, the line's a little smudge. I'm not going to worry about it. Probably makes it look a bit more authentic actually. I could scrape those off I suppose and put a little O and a 3, but I'm not going to bother. I think it'll look fine. I'll try the dial glass in the radio. I made a little packer here. I cut a packer, and I also cut with my laser cutter a new black backing. Alright, let's try the glass. Let's see how that looks. Should fit in there. That's nice. If you saw in one of the earlier parts, I broke the 2 retaining tabs off there. I've still got the 2 lower ones. The top ones are missing. So I made up a little bracket, and that fits on the original bracket that sits up there, and that should retain the glass. The 2 original retaining screws will hold it in place. Just loosely fit the pointer. I'll wind the capacitor fully home, and that should equal 540 down here. Alright, that's close enough. I'll wind it up to 600 and I can use the generator to put the signals in, and we'll check how accurate the scale is. I've got the radio powered up. It is on 600. I've got the generator running. I'll just run it down to 600. There's the signal. Now that looks about 600 to me. So I'll go to 700 and run it up to 700. There it is. 800. I'll do 900 and then see if we're online. It is. 1,000. Go to 1100. Yep. 12. 13. 14. And 15. I'm a bit surprised it's so accurate because you tend to, you move it up and down a little bit across and they all go out of whack. Gee, I'm happy with that. Under the chassis, there's the patter for the oscillator. And to adjust it, there's a hole in the chassis with a little screw slot, and I've got my adjuster in there. The tuning capacitor has two gangs. This is the oscillator and this is the antenna. The patter we just looked at is for the oscillator. There is no adjustment at the low end of the frequency band for the antenna. So that's fixed, can't adjust that. So what we have to do is find out where 600, where this is tuned to 600 kilohertz, and then adjust this to match it. So I'll run this back to 600, and I know that's really hard to see the pointer. It's coming around there, and I think that's 600 there. I'll put the generator on 600. I'll turn the radio on. I'll just let it warm up for 5 minutes so it's all stable. It's been about 5 minutes. I'll turn it up. I've got a meter there. We can see it. I'll put it about there. I'll turn the tuning and we'll just watch the meter and see if it gets any higher. And there it is. That doesn't look like it's far out. So I'll put it on peak there. And then I'll adjust the oscillator and see if we can peak it a bit more. Okay. And then I'll adjust this again, see if we can get any more. And what this is proving is that the aerial capacitor is peaked at 600. That's about the highest I can get that. And I'll adjust this. Right, that's about all I can get from it. Alright, that's all I can get from that. So they are both peaked at 600. With those two tuned to 600, I'll align the pointer to 600. Now everything is aligned at 600. From straight in front, that is pointing exactly at 600. So I'll go to 15. I'll put the generator on 15. And there's nothing there. It should be up here a bit. There it is. So I can stretch the oscillator so that it will reach 15. So if I put that on 15, I said before this is the oscillator and this is the antenna. Wrong way around. This one's the oscillator. That's the antenna. So I should be able to adjust this and bring that signal back. There it is. Right. So I've now stretched that oscillator range to match the dial. And for the antenna trimmer, we need to match the oscillator, which is now running at 15. So make sure the antenna is aligned with it. And we'll just peak the signal there. Oops, we're going off the scale. Just turn it down a little. It's just very touchy where the peak is. It's a bit touchy there. I'll go back to 600, wind this back, make sure we are still aligned at 600. I think we will be because I didn't move it very far. That's good enough. I'll use a screwdriver to try and get a bit more accurate adjustment on this antenna. The plastic tool I'm using tends to flex and makes it a bit difficult to do. That's about the maximum I'll get. I'll check the IF transformer adjustments. I've got the generator running. It's on 440, which is the IF frequency. I'm putting it into this 57 valve, and it's got a 0.01 capacitor in the line. I'll turn it up, and there's the signal. The adjustment is the two capacitors on the top. One of these has plate voltage on it, so we need to be careful. I've got an insulated tip on my adjuster here. I'll turn it up, and I'll just do it by ear. I was going to say it should be accurate, but it's not. Do the next one. Okay, I'll do this one. That one's alright. Okay, that one's alright too. I'll just check this one again. Okay, they're okay. There's two holes in the chassis that had capacitors in them at one time. They've been removed. I had an old radio out the back there, so I took the two capacitors out of it, cleaned them up a bit, and that'll fill the holes up and make it look a bit more original. At this stage, that's all I'm going to do to the radio. I'll put the nuts on the bottom of these, and we'll move on to the cabinet. Here's the cabinet, and if you saw part one, you'll know that it's in, well, very good condition. And the finish on it is still very good. The only bit that may be a little bit questionable is the top. And there's not that much wrong with it. It's not as bad as I thought it was. It has got a little bit of crazing in it, but for 90 years old, it's pretty good. All I'm going to do is clean it and maybe put a wax on it or something, but it looks really good. It's just dirty. It's got dust on it. It needs a new grill, of course, and I'll take off the bezel here and clean that up as well. This is too big to actually fit in my little workshop, so I'm going to just try a little bit here, and then I'll have to take it out and take the car out of the garage and try and restore it there. This is shellite or naphtha, if you're American, and a bit of 4-0 steel wool. I'll see if that will clean it up. It sure looks good with the shellite on it. And that's going to dry, of course. Yeah, that dried up all right. It looks good. It's got rid of most of it. It's still got a little bit of a sort of a white film over it, but the shellite or naphtha tends to do that anyway. With a bit of polish on that, I think that'll be more than acceptable. Now, as I said, I can't do it all in my little room, but I think that'll be okay. I'll go and do it out in the garage. But first I need to take some things off. Now I'll take the bezel out. That'll need polishing, and I'll clean the glass. It's just a Bakelite bezel. Glass is retained in the back there. It's a little bit rough finish down there. So anyway, that'll clean up okay. The board that goes here for the radiator mount on that fell off on the way home. And the speaker fabric looks like hessian or something. Oh gosh. Yeah, I'll pull this off outside. It'll probably be full of dust. Clearly I'm getting a bit slow in my old age. I realise now that of course the base will probably come off, so I've flipped it upside down. And there's about 4 screws holding it all together, so if I undo those, I can take the base off, and now I can fit it on my workbench. I've got the base out in my workshop, and I thought I'd start on that in case I make any mistakes, or at least I can learn how to repair it. I've only treated one end of it so far. I dusted off the whole thing first, though, gave it a bit of a clean up. The end I treated, I've used a couple of brushes, some steel wool, and the shellite. This is the end I've treated. I haven't done this centerpiece yet. But as you can see, it's come up really nice. I ended up using some Howard's Resora-finish after I'd cleaned it all. It had some scuffs and little marks, so I put the Howard's on it, and that's made it look pretty good. There's a bit of scuffing along the front of this foot here. I've put one coat of Howard's on it, and I'll put another coat on it once this dries a bit, and that'll just about hide it. You can almost not see it now. I'll continue cleaning and polishing this, and once this is finished, I'll go and get the main body and I'll bring that in. I have the cabinet up on my bench in the workshop. First thing I want to do is try and get this grill cloth off. Now when I tried to peel it off before in my room, it actually took some of the laminated
timber with it. It's not so bad on, yeah, see, it's actually pulling on that. Don't know what they've used. There's some of the old fabric. It might be alright, it's coming off alright. I've started to work on the other side, might be a bit easier for me. No, it is coming off. I was worried it was just going to destroy all this wood. No, it's alright. Okay, I'll keep going with this. It appears the cloth was originally glued to the inside of the cabinet, and here's some of the remnants of it, and you can actually see the pattern. I've temporarily fitted the board the chassis sits on. The chassis sits on this side of it. The reason they put the fabric on the front of the radio case is because the cutout actually extends beyond where that board is. So this is the speaker baffle board. If I mount the fabric onto here, it's going to have a big gap at the top. So I will have to put the fabric on this surface. I've got the radio on the ground here so that I can do the top. And I'm doing the same as I did yesterday in the room. I'll just rub it with the 000 steel wool and some naphtha or shellite. Just try and clean it up. And I'll put a bit of Howard's Resora-finish on it, see what it looks like with that on it. I've cleaned up the whole top and washed it off with a rag. There's a bit here that needs a bit more work. That's come up pretty good with some polish on it. It's probably good enough. It just does have a little bit of a white look to it. So I'm going to put some Howard's on it, and this is Resora-finish if you haven't seen it before. And you simply wipe it on, let it dry a bit and buff it off, and you have to put a polish over the top. But it does bring out the grain. It will cover very minor looking scratches in the finish, and it can get rid of that white foggy look that you get sometimes, which this seems to have. There it is with the Howard's on it. It will dry off a little bit and I'll buff it, but it won't change much. It'll look much the same as that once it's dried. I'll repeat the same procedure on the rest of the cabinet. I'll come back when it's ready to put some polish on it. I applied the Howard's Resora-finish about 2 days ago, so it's quite hard. It looks really good now, but they do recommend you put a polish over the top. So I've got some of this Howard's feed and wax, and that's what they recommend to use. Any of these sorts of polishes would have been alright. It says to wipe it on and leave it for, I think 20 minutes it said, and dry it, and then let that dry, and then polish it. This Howard's wax contains carnauba oil, orange oil and beeswax. So readily available in other forms. But I'll use what they recommend. I had to buy this off Amazon. So I'll let this dry off for about 20 minutes or so, come back, dry it off, and then let it dry again, and I'll give it a polish. That's been 20 minutes. They tell you now to dry it, and it is still wet. I wasn't sure if it was just going to dry hard or not. But no, it is dry. All right, so it says to just wipe it off, let it dry a little bit more, and then buff it. It's probably been nearly half an hour, but it's quite dry, so I'll give it a polish, or a buff as they call it. Doesn't really seem to be changing it much. It looks good. It's kind of matte. It's not all that glossy. It really hasn't glossed up like I thought it would. They do say you can keep putting more coats on it and that'll deepen it. I wouldn't put any more on it because I think it looks perfect as it is. The bottom of the cabinet's all been done with the Resora-finish, and that's quite dry. I'll put the feed and wax on that now. I'll turn the cameras off. When it's all finished, we'll have a look at it, and I need to put the grill cloth in. I have some fabric I'm going to use. It's not my first choice, but I don't have a lot of fabrics that'll suit. So it'll look all right, but it's not exactly what I would have liked to have used. I've put a piece of wood across here, and I've cut the end of this cloth or the material. I've cut that square or straight. So if I line that up with that, it should come out all right. Now I can staple along these edges here and down the bottom too, but not here because it's too thin. It's just, I don't know, 6mm plywood or something. So I'm going to glue that end of it I have some adhesive here. I'll just smear that on the top there. And then I'm going to lay the cloth on top. And I'll put a staple in that corner there. I can now put a little bit of stretch in that and pull it tight. And I'll keep it straight with that piece of wood on the top there. And that should be all squared up. This edge along here is the edge of the material, so that should be straight, I hope. So if I pull it tight like that, and I've got about the same gap up there, I'll put a staple in there. And I'll put a staple here as well. I'll put a row of staples along here. With all these staples along here, I'm going to start working along. I've got to keep these lines straight, and they also go that way too. I can see the little lines in there, so I should be able to keep it all straight, I hope. Looks pretty good. It's nice and straight. It's tight. Yeah, that looks fine. It looks better than what I thought it might. I finished with the cabinet out here. I've put the feed and wax all over and polished it up, buffed it. So I can take it all back inside and I'll put the radio in. I'll see what it looks like. I have the cabinet in my workroom. I've put the shelf back in and I've also refitted the speaker. So now I'll refit the chassis. There's only one screw either side, so I'll put them in. The speaker wires were in pretty good condition, but I've recovered them just to be sure that can be plugged in. I found 3 knobs that are absolutely perfect for it. They're exactly from the 30s. I think they look fantastic. So I'll put those on. And I've got some felts. I'll put some felts behind there. The knobs are held on with some little grub screws there. I took the pointer off to paint it. It was black originally. You really couldn't see it. So I've painted it white. I need to check that it's still aligned properly, so I'll put my signal generator on and I'll set it to 600. I'll just tune around till I find, there it is there. And it's a little bit out there, so I'll adjust it. I'll just loosen the screw and move the pointer up and try it again. Yeah, that looks good. I polished the bezel and the glass, so I can put that in and put in the little screws that hold it in. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, let's give it a go. It's about 9 o'clock, so we should get a little bit of the station. The only thing on tonight is the football, but that's okay. So this is the ABC. This is a pretty powerful station.
Out for the goal line. You're with Luke Lewis, John Gibbs. I'm Andrew Moore. Friday night thriller here on ABC Sport. Now it's Kurt Mann, centre field, court 14 out from the goal line. Inside 8 minutes.
Now that's the most powerful station here, so there's no AGC, so you have to keep turning the volume up and down.
Looking at the Makita replay. Don't spoil it by hitting hands, Elijah.
So little speaker sounds pretty good, particularly after the work I did to it. There's another footy there. That's a long way away, that station. There's another football. That's the AFL. There's another footy. There's a bit of music, can't hear it.
Heavy racing.
And there's the racing.
Concrete structures 800 metre marker. Picklet on the pegs leads the way here for Taylor Ford. Putting the pressure on the outside for Lonely Knights. 27-8 the second quarter.
So the speaker sounds alright. Now, there won't be anything else. Alright, we'll call it quits there. It does work pretty well. I'm in a poor reception area, so this is not one of the better design circuits. It's an old-fashioned circuit. I think they were just hanging out. This was built in about 1935, 36, maybe 37, and they're still using circuit designs from the earlier 30s. Its performance isn't as good as it could be. The dial looks really good. I'll just turn some lights off. And that looks really good. It's nice and clear. Everything's legible. Yeah, that technique works pretty well.
And you don't have to stick to just white. You can make it any colour you like. In fact, you can mix colours. So you could do the lines, say, in white. So you just print the white or cut the white in the vinyl, iron that on, then you cut all the text out in another colour. You iron that on, then you could do the map of Australia, and then iron that on in a different colour. The radio looks really good. It responded so well to the Resora-finish, and it looks like it's new. It is in perfect condition. From the back, it doesn't look like it's been restored. The chassis looks pretty normal. You know, there's no rust on it. The paint doesn't look brand new. The speaker looks fine. It cleaned up pretty well. There's still a bit of rust and stuff on it, so it looks pretty authentic. I'll have to move this radio on. It's way too big. I won't be able to fit it in our house, so I'll advertise it, I suppose, and somebody else can enjoy it. So that's it for this radio. I'm going to listen to the last few minutes of the footy there, because it's a very close game. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I hope you enjoyed following along, and I hope you can join me for my next radio adventure.
A good chase to it. Oh, he lost it, Tracy. He's handed the ball back to the Roosters. Look out. The Wanganita Wild's away. He goes left, Sandon Smith. Pass around the corner was brilliant. Watson slipped over. Taken 10 out. Connor Tracy, fair dinkum. He's given it straight back to the Roosters, who are quickly reasserting their dominance here. Sandon Smith goes left.